So today we're going to be talking about bulging disc. This is something that happened to me as a dancer, and this is all my tips and tricks of how I recovered from bulging disc and did not get an injection. So the first thing that happened to me when I got the bulging disc was I was in a rehearsal and I was doing this lift with this certain young man, and I would run to him and he would catch me, and I was in like this arabesque type of pose, and then he would dip me. That's the easiest way of explaining it a little bit. But when he caught me, in particular this one time, he didn't exactly catch me very well, and I felt something a little bit go wrong in my back, but I was like, it's fine, you know. Anyway, later on in the day, I went back home and I actually had this studio. I went up there after the rehearsal to continue to work on my form and my technique by myself, and as I was dancing up there, I just did a normal cambray forward. And as I was a cambray forward, for those who don't know, who might be watching this, it's just where you bend like straight down with your legs basically in fifth position, or they're like that basically. We'll say first position, even though it was crossed. But anyway, I did this cambray down and it was just a bending forward, and I just immediately felt this pain, such agony of pain go through my spine, and I sunk to the floor. That was when my bulging disc happened, and it was agony. So I feel for you if you are actually watching this video and you have a bulging disc. I am very, very sorry for you right now. Ice was key for me at the beginning. When that happened, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know why it was happening to me, but I was in so much pain. Anyway, went downstairs, iced, and I really recommend icing for you. If you have a bulging disc, that is your first key thing that you need to do is ice to decrease that inflammation. And rest. For me, as a dancer, I did not always take the time to rest. I knew this injury was different than any other injury. I actually could not sit on a toilet. I could not bend down and do like anything. I couldn't sit in a seat. Like, I couldn't drive in my car. Like, it was very limiting for me at that time. And I had a performance coming up that I was about to perform for, and like there was no one who knew actually my part, and so they had to get someone really quickly to perform my spot. It was agonizing, so I went quickly to a doctor to get seen, and this doctor told me, hey, like we can do like this injection for you and you know, give you a steroid and you can perform. And I was like, well, that's great, but how is that going to affect me later on? He's like, well, you're probably going to always have this bulging disc. You're probably going to always have this pain. And I was like, well, that's not good. So if I don't perform and I rest it instead, will I be okay? And he's like, there's potential for that, yes. And I was like, then why in the world would I perform and choose to get this like injection? Like, there, to me, in my mind, like the long term is definitely more important than like the short term. And people, you know, we think so short term. Like for me, I am very prone to think short term and here and now, let's fix it quick. And that's not always the best thing for me as a person. And so, I wanted to perform later on in life. I wanted to be better later on in life. I started looking for alternative options, and I called up my main instructor who was in charge of the performance and told her that I could not perform. And that was extremely, extremely brutalizing hard for me. So what did I do? Well, my alternative option was to get seen by this one person who did microcurrent. Microcurrent was, again, key. Like, I'm going to talk about extremely key for me at this point, but I'm going to say some things that were not so great actually about microcurrent in this video. The microcurrent was extremely helpful at decreasing my inflammation. I think that was when maybe I bought my microcurrent machine for the first time. I'm not quite sure about that. I had a microcurrent machine and I used it like constantly. I used it when I was sleeping at night. I used it during the day to try to decrease that inflammation. I used it constantly. Well, what happened was I didn't know this at the time, but microcurrent actually affects your hormones. And so my hormones got way out of whack. I started experiencing like hot flashes, skipped cycle, like I felt like I was going actually like crazy. I called the lady in charge of the microcurrent who like sold it to me, and I was like, what is happening to me? Like, just like, oh, you feel kind of loopy, don't you? Well, you need to actually run this certain current to get your hormones like back in line. And I was like, oh, that's what's happening to me. So she helped me rebalance, I guess you could say, my hormones that had happened using this one frequency like over and over. And that's extreme. Like, usually when you go to like a person who does microcurrent, you're not like using it like constantly unless you have a loaned out unit or something. But if you do go to someone who does microcurrent, you might want to ask them, is this going to affect my hormones? So that you don't go crazy like I almost did. Okay, so the other thing that I did beyond microcurrent, which again, you can ice, you can use microcurrent, was resting and staying straight. So staying straight is, you are completely trying to lay down flat, or you are completely trying to stand up straight. Now, it depends on where your bulging disc is located. So be very clear to your doctor about how can I not put strain on that bulging disc and causing more pressure to occur on it. You want to keep it straight and flat. So wherever your bulging disc is, you want to keep it, the spine, straight to help it heal and recover. So for me, because of where my bulging disc was, I knew that strengthening the sides of my spine was key to helping me recover from this bulging disc while also resting. And so I knew if I was standing up for long periods of time, like I would feel the pain more. But I worked with a physical therapist, a person who did microcurrent, and obviously just listening to my own body, and then a doctor on the side to recover from my bulging disc. And all of them reiterated a similar theme of, if you can handle standing up straight, that is good for your spine. So again, talk to your doctor, physical therapist, whoever you're working with your bulging disc. But for me, standing up was key and holding in my core. Physical therapy is my next point. Physical therapy I went to, and they had me do certain exercises. One exercise was actually walking on a treadmill, but they did it with a specific tool. So the tool I do not own personally, but you can do for yourself, but you have to be very conscientious in your thinking about how you are doing it. It was simply walking around. Now, they attached this tool to me. It was a belt, and they Velcroed it on me, and it had like this little buzzer in the front of my belly button that would go off if I lost my core. So if I lost it at all and pooched out, the buzzer would go off and remind me, you need to suck in and hold your core in. So if you're walking and you have a bulging disc, using your core is again key to your healing of the bulging disc or the spine. So walking is extremely helpful. Walk if you can, but start out gradual and slow. I did it on a treadmill and I started very slowly. I think I did it like for 3 minutes, then 5 minutes, then worked up to 10 and 15 and then 30 minutes. It was very gradual and I got stronger and my bulging disc healed through all these levels of people helping me recover from my bulging disc. So walking is key, but hold it in your core. Okay, so Theraband exercises. So when I went to the physical therapist, they made me do Theraband exercises. And it was a little funny, but I put the Theraband over my head and then pulled down with it with my hands. And I walked in 4 different ways. So one was going forward, the other one was going backwards, and then to the other side, and then to the other side. And with that said, it was key or very important for me to have my chin placed in a position that was appropriate for my spine while using my core. So first, my chin needed to be in a little bit, not out. That helped with my spine alignment. The other thing was, again, holding in my core, pulling my hip flexors from the front upward and down and back. I did this Theraband exercise probably like 4 times a day, and I saw amazing improvement. I was definitely sore. The first time you do it, don't do it 4 times, just do it once. And just do it going forward and then maybe backwards, but work up very, very gradually. The other Theraband exercise was that I was standing and then I was pulling up from the sides with my hands and doing that 30 times. I was laughing at this exercise, actually. I was like, this is the exercise that they're giving me. Do they know who I am? I'm like a professional dancer. Like, this is an easy exercise. I definitely can, do this. And the physical therapist looked at me and he's like, you're gonna be sore like tomorrow. And I actually was sore. And this exercise actually greatly improved and strengthened my core, my back. Like, I noticed that I was a better dancer after experiencing this injury. And that can be said with a lot of the injuries that I experienced. So when you have an injury, don't look at it as, oh my goodness, this is like detrimental to my dancing career. I'm never gonna get out of this. Like, your self-talk needs to be positive, encouraging. You can get through this. You can survive. You can get better as a dancer. You can actually get even better as a dancer through an injury. So just look at it through the lens of, I can become a better dancer through this injury, and I can learn so much through it. During this time or this injury, I actually joked with my husband because I was dating him at the time, and I was like, God broke my back, which he didn't actually break my back. He gave me a bulging disc. But to wake me up to the fact that he was the man that God wanted me to marry. And it's just, this is like a little clip of a story, I guess, that hopefully will encourage you. I was very stubborn in my mindset of, this is my dancing career, this is my route that I'm walking, and I kind of actually needed this injury to wake up to the fact that God was leading me in a different direction, to walk down a different path that was actually beautiful and wonderful. Romans 8:28 says, everything works out for the good of those who love God, and I do believe that it did. In this instance in particular is just evidence of it, because like, my relationship with my husband is so beautiful, and this injury was vitally important for me to see and wake up to the reality that God had a bigger, better plan for my future, and that was to marry my husband. So you know, whatever it might be, your injuries might make you stronger and better as a dancer, but God might also be waking you up to the reality that He has something bigger and better for you. And it's so hard to see it now, but you can see it like later on in the future as you look back. So that is my encouragement for you today. I hope this video is helpful. It gives you insight and gives you a little bit of helpful tools or ways that you can look into, that you don't have to get what the doctor might be telling you to get, like an injection or something, but that you can heal from your bulging disc in other different capacities. As always, if you liked this video, click the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you back for more. Bye!